Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, I want to talk to you about something that is known as a linkable asset, right? Now, a linkable asset is all about creating an asset on your website in SEO, in the SEO world, right? Where it is linkable, right? And it's an asset, meaning the way that you have created this asset is so that other people would link to it, right? Because it's quality content, you've thought about it, you've done the research, and you've created this, 2,000 to 3,000 words plus article where it's like the ultimate guide to do with XYZ, for example, right? And people love it because it's so much content, but it's quality content, right? And it keeps people engaged. It's a solid piece of content, right? And that is what is known, that is what is known as a linkable asset, right? So in SEO, if you're building your blog up, or if you're building your website up, right, and you're on the SEO game, meaning you're playing so that Google will rank your website higher, you want to know what it takes to create a linkable asset. Now, in this video, I appreciate it, I'm on a whiteboard, and these kind of videos are just to give you an idea of, high level thinking and what goes into it, right? But if this video and you want to find out more about this linkable asset stuff, just let me know in the comments below, and what I'll do is I will actually create a video outlining and showing you exactly, so I'll do it on my laptop so you can see how you actually go about doing it, using the right tools, about how you go about creating your own linkable asset, right? But for this video, I'm just going to talk to you on a high level what this whole thing is and why it matters are the main points of it, right? So obviously we've talked about we want to create an asset, right? And an asset is obviously something that is of value, right? So it's of value, and in the SEO world, if we have a solid piece of content, right, and 2,000 to 3,000 words plus, in some cases it might go over 5,000, right? But I'm going to tell you how to find the optimal word count in this episode, right? But to get started with, you need to make sure that the content that's in this linkable asset is solid stuff, right? So it's stuff that people are searching for. It's stuff that is going to be rankable, meaning it's actually the phrases that you put into this, they're high level keywords or long tail keywords, right? Because you've done your keyword research effectively, and the answers that you've got in there actually help people, right? And if you can do that, and imagine this is just one, if you focused on, there's guys who do SEO on YouTube, and they say, if you did this linkable asset thing, if you did nothing for a month or for 90 days in some cases, and you created on building one of these, if you had like 2-3 hours in a day to focus on creating, if you had that time spare and you wanted to focus on your website, then building a linkable asset, you could set yourself like a 45-day or a 90-day challenge, and the results that you would get from Google would be unbelievable if you manage to do this. But in the long term, if this is something that you want to build up, you want to try and do this like once a month if you can do it. So making sure that you've got a linkable asset on your website, right? I'll include a link below to one that I did on my website around branding, right? And that got a lot of traffic. It got a ton of traffic. And so basically, imagine what it looks like. A linkable asset is typically what it looks like is you have your heading at the top. Now your heading, if you've come from the previous video which I've included, which you might have come from, was a video to do with the SEO checklist, right? Which talks about the 4 points of the checkpoints that you want to make sure that you've taken into account when creating your web page. Then you'll understand that the heading we needed to contain our keywords, right? But if you haven't seen that video, but if you're interested from watching this video that you want to see it, then I'll also include a link to that video below, so then that way you can refer to it, right? So this whole thing is going to help you out, right? So what it looks like is you have a heading, right? Then you have obviously you have your intro. So these are like the basic parts of an article, right? So you've got your intro, right? Then you've got like subheadings, and then you talk about a particular point. So here we would talk about one, so this could be a long tail keyword, right? And then this could be another long tail keyword. And your linkable asset, you want to make sure that you've got, you know, like I said, it all varies on the number of topics you're going to talk about, but you only need to talk about like 5. So, and these could be all long tail keyword phrases, right? And basically that means that once you've done your keyword research, right, you've done your main keyword research, but then within your main keyword research, rather than this whole thing about being one keyword, right, you want to mix in some long tail keywords as well, because that way your linkable asset will have multiple dimensions, meaning different ways that people can link to it, right? And that's all that matters in terms of the backlink world, is that you have an asset that you've given it enough space to be linkable from different things, and it's not just about one thing, or you've talked about other things, right? And to do keyword research, you want to use Keyword Planner, and that will tell you long tail keyword phrases that people search for when they're looking for your main keyword phrase, right? And it's from them long tail keyword phrases that you want to create each of them as a subheading, for example, and then have a relevant image to do with that. And then you have text talking about that, so you can have 3 subpoints that talk about that main long tail keyword phrase, for example, to give it a bit more structure, right? But I found that by having a video towards the top that's relevant, and if it also has the video title, the keyword phrase for this whole thing, that it ranks higher up as well. But the reason why you'd have it quite high up in your linkable asset is because it attracts people's attention more, right? Because when people come across your article, because they've linked to it, then it shows that, by having a video, because some people don't just like to read, right? And if they're linking through and they've come to this, your linkable asset might be the only blog post that they've come to that's got a video on it, believe it or not, right? And if they're reading a post or a web page, right, and they're doing the whole research thing by going through Google, and then they land on a website, and then that website links to your website, and yours is the only one who's got a video, you've got a good chance of maintaining that that user who lands on that page, right? So that's why you want a video, and specifically why you want it high up. Then another thing is with the linkable asset, I found that quite high up as well, is if you've got like a list that basically, you might have seen this in some articles, where it gives you like a list of links that you can click, and it'll take you to that particular part, because you might be looking for someone might be looking for how to do a particular thing. So this is that multi-dimensional thing again about having long tail keyword phrases, right? Because someone might only be interested in this one here, right? And so this link, like the third one down, might be a direct link to that, and that will help that person even more, because not only have you given them a link to go straight to that piece of content, but again, from a SEO perspective, Google likes it when you have sorted your content out in a way that is simple, and technically it's broken down by areas, right? Because Google likes it, because one, not only can it figure out what this whole post is about, and it makes it easier for its algorithm, right? So it rewards you on that point, but it also knows that it makes it easier for like screen readers and accessibility, which is a massive thing, right? Accessibility is such a huge thing, and you want to be doing that anyway, right? But this sort of stuff helps with your accessibility score as well. And obviously from a usability point of view as well, it helps people navigate your article better. And then obviously finally, you want to have like a call to action, which is more for us than anyone else, which is when someone comes on here, they read our web page, we want to give, that's a button, and that would link off to, you know, a link to our funnel or to a free gift or some way of them entering our ecosystem, for example, right? Smart, right? Anyway, moving on to this, then, so going back to this thing about, you know, at the moment, you might now have understood a little bit more about a linkable asset than you might not have done, right? And that was my aim with this video, right? But what's just as important, what I wanted to share with you is, how do you determine how many words this should be, right? How do you determine how many sections, long tail keyword sections you should have in it? And, you know, how do you determine how many videos should be in it, right? So the number one thing is, go onto Google, type in the phrase, that the keywords that what this whole thing is going to be about. So whatever your keywords in it, it could be something to do with like how to make money online, right? That is such a commonly used example, and I'm just putting it out there as literally as a placeholder one, right? But if you were to go on that page, on that by typing it into Google or using your own phrase, right? But you will see the top 10 natural listed results that Google thinks is the top 10 in the world, basically, because that's what it's linking to them, right? And then what you do is you want to create like an audit, and you want to see how many times, you want to see how many long tail keyword phrases they use. So write down how many each of them use. So of them 10 websites or them 10 articles, how many of them use this, the keyword? How many times do they use images? How many times do they have a video? And what you'll find is they're usually similar, right? But if you don't want to do all 10, do the top 3, right? And basically look at the way they structured their content, look how many images they've got, look how many times they use their keyword phrases, and look how many long tail key phrases they've got. And then from that point, what you want to do is average it out. So add them up, then obviously divide by 3, because we're talking the top 3, and that's how many images and videos and long tail key phrases you should have. And then the word count, you basically want to find out how many words are on that page, and then do it by 3. So one might be 2,000, one might be 5,000, one might be 3,000. So you add them up and divide it by 3, and that's the number that you should aim for, because it's like an average, right? And that will give you some structure to your linkable asset. But once you've created your linkable asset, and this is where it becomes powerful, and then to get backlinks, which is something that I talked about on the other video, the SEO checklist video, which you can link to in the description, right? We talked about Google's currency. One of them is backlinks, right? So now, because you put so much effort into optimizing this content, and it's solid and it's a wicked piece of content, the way you get backlinks is you literally go back to that web page that's on the one that we tapped in, and then literally ask them, say, wow, I came across your content piece and it's amazing. I've also written a relevant piece around this topic. Would you be interested in linking back to me if I link back to yours? And sometimes, right, if yours blows their, so from a content piece, so they might be ranking higher on the first page, but their page might be totally rank, right? Meaning it just might not be good at all. For ours, because we've designed it in a way that's based on what theirs looks like and other people's looks like, and we've made it better, that's the goal here, to make it better, then they will, more often than not, they will link back to this, right? And if you can get one backlink from that whole top 10, then it was well worth the investment. But usually you might see, you know, 2 or 3 links, and if you can get that 2 or 3 links from them top 10 links that Google puts on the first page, then you are off to a solid start, because Google will realize that, wow, this website has been linked to. And the reason why people, if you're thinking, well, why would someone link to a website or to a linkable asset if theirs is already on page 1 and this is similar, it's because it's going to help their own article. Because if they'll find like a long tail keyword phrase, right, or that keyword phrase that you've got in your title in the link text, when they link back to your linkable asset, it can help them have more links in their article, because as part of this build up, you want to be linking out to other websites as well, like, so you can link to tools and influencers or whatever it is, right? But having links in your website shows Google that you are adding value by providing people links where they can go and visit more information to do with what you're doing. And that's effectively all you're asking them to do. So when they link back, you're helping them, and effectively they're helping you. And that's what a linkable asset is. But imagine doing this process for 30, 40, 50 pieces of content, over a year or two, and then you're getting links for each of your top pieces of content from 30, 40, 50 different minimum top end websites per each of your things. Your website will just go in Google's eyes, right, and in the search world. So I hope that helps. And if, like I said, if you want to find out how to do this properly and you want me to show you, just drop a comment below, and what I'll do is I will create a video that shows you how to build a linkable asset and how to go about approaching people to get them links, right? And I'll show you the whole process, if that's something that you're interested in. And if there's enough people who obviously are interested in that, I will create that video for you guys. But for the time being, guys, I really hope this helps you with your SEO, mission, right? So for the time, take care and all the best.